I'm Christian Ramos,
And I'm James Peterson.
and this is our flu vaccines, a Newsvendor problem report. So, for market demand, we did a little bit of research using the European Journal, and they actually said that a two-phase policy at various demand is actually optimal for this. So, the way that this works is phase one is just the general total area. So, let's say like all of Georgia is being vaccinated, and then phase two, after they analyze what happens after phase one and like how the flu affects different areas, they go to more specific areas further in time. So, let's say like Augusta is like much more negatively affected by the flu, they'll go and send more vaccines to Augusta to make sure that they're covered there. Versus if Atlanta is not affected at all, then they won't send any there. And this actually meets demand, but it also lowers production, which is really good in terms of keeping costs down.
Yeah, and then so you can just see this demand graph for 2021 to 2022. And the way it's graphed, you can see that there is a relatively normal shape to that, with the y-axis being millions of vaccines and then the x-axis being months. And this is just really interesting to show kind of how the seasons work, how the demand for flu vaccines changes over time, and what unique kind of situations that puts producers of the vaccines in. And also for like doing calculations on the vaccine, because of this relatively normal shape, it kind of helps for those. And so just to look at some of the factors, kind of that we've been looking at in class, but taking this to a real world situation. So you have the ordering cost, the fixed cost, which is just the shipment of the vaccine, the big trucks they get sent on. They're fragile and they need to be kept in a cold container, which increases the cost for these vaccines. And then the variable cost, just per vaccine, per dose. You have the actual vaccine, which costs some amount of money, and the syringe, and both those are relatively low cost. Then you move on to the holding cost, which is if you have vaccines left at the end of the day at your pharmacy or wherever you're administering the vaccine, you have to pay for those refrigeration costs. And then the understock cost, if you don't provide enough vaccines, this is probably the worst outcome. You have to pay for rapid shipment, which one is really expensive, but two, it puts people in danger if they want to get flu vaccines, if they kind of need a flu vaccine, if they're at risk of getting the flu, or if they get the flu, it could have very negative health implications for them. So you really want to avoid these understock costs when it comes to the flu vaccine.
Yeah, so just like James said, so some of the complications specific to flu vaccines and health-related supply chain is just that it is a healthcare field. So if there's insufficient supply to meet demand, it can cause health implications. So we talked about this in class using the hospital inventory, but also with like flu vaccines, if like the flu is just like ravaging an area and there aren't enough vaccines, like there's like real world effects to that, like people can die compared to let's say like an actual like news vendor with like newspapers. Like if you don't sell the newspaper, like people don't get the news. But like let's say you don't sell flu vaccines, like people can die. And it has like really like grave implications too. So this is like one of the complications that's specific to the healthcare field and also to flu vaccines that like really sets it apart from like other different fields. And our source cited. Thank you for watching.